train them is my cause.
You gotta catch 'em all. If if you're a kid of the 90s, then you know exactly how that song ends. We are talking about Pokémon. The Japanese franchise has a new video game out called Pokémon Legends Z2A, and Deven McClure is here to talk about it. Welcome to Commotion, Deven.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, this is your first time on the show. How exciting to have you here.
I'm stoked. I'm very happy to be here.
Okay, so before we get into the meat of this game, how excited were you to play Pokémon Legends Z2A?
I was very excited. They were making a lot of sweeping changes with the game from previous games, like real-time combat. I had a couple little tastes of bits and bobs of the game at press previews for it, but to really be able to sink my teeth into the entire narrative of it and the entire explorable world, I was extremely excited.
Now, I should say, not everyone will know what Pokemon is about. So maybe just paint us a clear picture. What is this world? What are you doing? Kind of what's the story? What's the backstory of Pokemon? And then we'll get deeper into the game specifics.
So this one is part of the spin-off series Legends. It's set in Lumiose City, which is based on Paris. And essentially, Lumiose City is facing a sort of rogue mega evolution problem, which essentially means Pokemon, the little cute creatures wandering around, turn super big and super dangerous. So part of the game is about finding out why that crisis is happening, but at the same time, you're also going to what are called wild zones, and you're catching Pokemon yourself. And there are also these things called battle zones that happen at night, where in that case, you're battling other trainers with your Pokemon instead.
Yes, and if you don't know anything about Pokemon whatsoever, you're a trainer. These are cute little creatures that you can sort of evolve. Hopefully I'm describing
Yes.
that correct. Gosh, don't come for me, Pokemon heads. Okay, so this game, you are walking around a city. It looks like Paris. And what are you seeing and what are you up to?
You are definitely spending a lot of time battling your Pokemon, catching Pokemon, but there's also a lot to explore in Lumiose City. There's a lot of scaffolding to climb and rooftops to explore while you're going through the main plot as well, trying to work out these rogue mega evolutions. And there's also a lot of side quests you can do with the various NPCs of the world.
An NPC, for people who don't know, is a non-playable character, right?
Yes.
So these are sort of the background people in the video games that you're not usually supposed to talk to, but can often have funny things to say.
Yes, exactly.
And so on to that, there's sort of an unexpected quirk in this game that you notice with some of these NPCs that you wrote about for Polygon. So tell us about that.
So I first noticed it when I was walking around because the speech bubbles for NPCs just pop up. You don't have to talk to them on purpose. And there was just one guy who said, "Go where you will, die where you must." And I went, "What?"
As you would.
And yes, the more I started looking at all of the dialogue that the various NPCs in the game had, so many of them were going through some form of existential crisis, whether it was about loneliness, death, unspoken things not said to loved ones, just staring out across the water and going, "C'est la vie, I suppose." There's a crazy ennui epidemic happening in Lumiose City, essentially.
I mean, Deven, what do you think is going on? I know you reacted with sort of aghast. What are other players saying about the ennui epidemic in this game?
Everyone thinks it's really funny, to be honest, because it doesn't tie in too much with the actual main plot, which honestly makes it even crazier that it's not related to the mega evolutions at all. It's just an odd side thing that it's very distinct from the NPC dialogue that's been in some previous games. So I've seen so many reactions online of people just trying to find the most unhinged NPCs they can and making threads of it and finding it all extremely hilarious.
Any reaction from the game makers about why they would want to have all these sad characters hanging about?
They haven't said anything about it. And it does raise the question of if it was the localization, because the game was originally in Japanese. So perhaps it was the English localization that decided to go very dark with it. But so far, there's been no actual explanation either from the company or within the game of why that's occurring at all.
Now, Pokemon is for kids, in case it wasn't clear. Not that, you can't play at any age, but this has always been a brand about, like friendship and believing in yourself. Is it unusual to see these themes of despair and mortality pop up in a Pokemon game?
Definitely in this amount. There have always been little sort of nuggets, like in the original Pokemon series, I know the episode Bye Bye Butterfree traumatized a lot of children, myself included. Even in the game Pokemon X and Y, which is set in the same area as the new game is, there's a very haunting backstory about one of the main characters and his involvement in a great war. But that was always sort of smaller pieces, whereas this just seems to be everywhere. It's not these little nuggets where you get sad and then you go into something else and you kind of forget about it. It's everywhere.
You could say Pokemon it's turning 30 in February. Is this, just a sort of sign that it's growing older with its first generation of fans?
I think that's definitely a part of it. There's been one game in the Legends spin-off series already that was a little bit more mature, and this latest one is actually the first Pokemon game to be rated E10 plus in some places versus just E for everyone. So obviously 10 isn't that old, but they are saying, hey, if you're not 10 or older, this might be a bit much for you now. And I think, as you said, children of the 90s and this sort of generation that grew up with Pokemon, especially with its 25th anniversary coming up, I think the brand itself is very aware that a lot of people have had that experience and are starting to make more mature choices to reflect that a little bit.
Deven, quickly, I wonder if you think this is a bit of a sign of the times, a reflection of how people feel. It's not hard to find themes of ennui and despair in the news or in the conversations that you're having at the water cooler. Any sense of, maybe this is just sort of how the world looks and feels to a lot of people right now?
That's definitely part of it as well. I think especially for that same generation that grew up with Pokemon, they've sometimes been some of the most affected by, like, oh, I can't afford a house anymore, and have also developed a sort of sardonic outlook and sense of humor and that sort of thing. So it definitely does, in a way, feel very apt just for the times that we're living in, even if it doesn't necessarily make full sense in the Pokemon universe.
Well, you know what? Maybe nothing makes sense in the universe right now. Deven,
That's extremely true.
Really appreciate you being on the show chatting about this with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Deven McClure is a writer at Polygon. Pokémon Legends Z2A is out now. And that's it for the podcast today. I'm Amil Niazi, sitting in for Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This is Commotion. Thanks for listening.